So welcome everyone, and thank you for joining us for this Q&A for the film The Blue Cape. I'm so thrilled to have our two special guests with us, director Alejandra López and the star of the film, Yanniel Arce Rivera. Welcome you guys, thanks for being here. Do you guys maybe want to just say a little, so first I'm actually wondering, are you both originally from Puerto Rico, and are you currently in Puerto Rico now?
Well, I am from Puerto Rico. I live in LA, but I'm currently in Puerto Rico. And then, Yanniel, you take it away.
Okay. I was born in Puerto Rico, but right now I'm in North Carolina.
Oh, wow. Where in North Carolina?
That's
where,
cool.
where are you in North Carolina?
I'm in the mountain area.
Ah, nice. Sounds lovely. Fantastic. So you're joining us from even further away in some respects. So I'm wondering, as a starting point, were you and or your families either directly affected by Hurricane Maria, as is portrayed in the the film obviously covered that tragedy?
Yes.
Yeah, in what way, Yanniel?
So we didn't have no lights, and there was we didn't have a lot of food, and that's probably it. No jobs too.
So you were there when the hurricane hit, so you experienced it personally.
Yes.
Yeah. Did you,
Yeah.
Alejandra?
Well, I was working in LA, but I guess as a Puerto Rican living in the States, we felt, I had no communication from my parents for a week. So just imagine what your mind goes through, what the news is telling you every time you go to a supermarket or a store. You just have the news, explaining what happened to Puerto Rico, and here I am trying to reach to my family. But for me, during the casting process, I told my casting director it was very important for me to not only find an actor, but a young boy that actually lived it. So, Yanniel is from a very specific area in Puerto Rico that was very affected. So, when I saw him audition, I could easily feel it was something he went through. And maybe that's why he did an amazing job in this role.
So, Yanniel, how did you get involved in the film? How did Alejandra find you, and how did you know you wanted to take part?
I did a casting for a video, and then I think they called Alejandra, and they told her the story of me. Oh.
And were you excited to do it? Were you is something that you really
Yes.
were? Yeah. Had you acted before?
No.
Yeah, you did an amazing job. Really.
I know. Not only is it a physically demanding role, I have him running and crossing rivers, but it's emotionally demanding. We were on the 12-hour, and he goes like, I want to do it again. I'm like, no, baby, I'm breaking the law with you. And I got it. I got my take. Thank you, baby. Okay.
Well, and plus I have to say, as far as I understand it, one of the hardest things for an actor is actually crying, like authentically crying in that moment. When you come in and you see your mother, and then you see that your grandfather's, like that moment, the way that those tears were they felt very authentic. You did a brilliant job with that.
Thank you.
Impressive. How did you know that he was the right fit for the film? Did you look at did you cast, in the casting call, did you look at other kids?
Well, I was so specific with my casting director. She only presented me to actors. and Yanniel was one of them. And I just, I think as artists, some people call it the God, others call it the sixth, sense or whatever. But I just saw Yanniel and audition, and I knew I found him. Because if it wasn't for him, this short film wouldn't have worked. Mm-hmm. So I'm very grateful for her name is Bonnie, for my casting director, and obviously for Yanniel, for being brave enough to act for the first time and trusting me, and his family as well.
Can you talk a little bit about how you developed the story? Is it based on real experience of a Puerto Rican film you knew, or is it more of a composite or a reimagining of stories that you heard in the aftermath of the hurricane?
Yes, it was every scene that you see in the short film was actually a picture in the newspaper.
Wow.
And it was very daunting to me. And the idea initially came when I landed, obviously, that 2017 for Christmas, and the first thing I wanted to do was help. So I literally drove to where the hurricane entered the island, and as I kept leaving the city, I just kept watching and seeing houses with blue tarps. And for some reason, my brain or my subconscious reminded me of my little brother. And I remember when I was little, like Yanniel's age, and I went through hurricanes, my little brother, you know, without power, he just put on like his Spider-Man costume and try to conquer the world, you know. And I don't know, for some reason, I think the cape and the blue tarps came together, and the blue cape was born. You know,
I love that. I love that the symbolism of using the I mean, particularly when you come out at the end and you see that obviously the tarp represents this, you know, the protection that they have between them and the elements after the hurricane, and that when he ties that on, it's so powerful. And just the blue tone that you have in the room in that first scene too, you know, how it sort of pervades everything, just really, really beautiful. It's great to hear you talk about that. One of the things I also love was the simplicity of the storytelling and the power of the images. So can you talk a little bit more about how you conceived that, what you were just saying about that they were all pictured, like that's even more compelling to me, that they were all images from the newspaper. So did you basically kind of piece together the story, you know, and recreate that from that visual?
So basically my creative process starts with the title. If I don't have a title, then I don't have anything. So I already knew the title. And I'm like, okay, but I didn't have the story, you know? So basically, yeah, I was just so overwhelmed with all the news and all the images that I just imagined this little boy, you know, that, cause I mean, the thing is, you know, the metaphor of the short film, which again, it's not necessary for the audience to comprehend, but basically, you know, we are a Commonwealth of the US, and the blue tarps were given to us by the federal government. Mm. But that was all that was given to us, you know? So here I used it as a symbolism. In the beginning, we felt very powerful with it. You know, we felt like heroes that were helping us. But at the end, you know, literally, like I'm not even lying, we were using it to cover up our deaths, you know? So I knew the beginning and I knew the end. And I knew I wanted it to be short. You know, this is a very delicate subject. I didn't want to go, you know, soap opera with it. And again, I knew I was dealing with a young actor like Yanniel, you know, and I guess these images came together in my head. And I guess, I mean, thank God I had a beginning, middle, and end.
Did you ever, so you never, I like that you knew that it needed to stay short. So you were never tempted to make it a more complicated or longer story.
No, I knew it could be easily, you fall, you know, melodramatic, and I didn't want it to go that way at all.
You know, the scene at the pharmacy was really powerful too. I thought, you know, while we never see the faces of the adults in the store, we only ever see Yanniel's face. You can really feel the sense of community in that short scene and how people were helping one another during the tragedy. Can you talk a little bit more about that? And then maybe, Yanniel, also if you could talk about your experience of that, you know, at that time.
Yes, well, I did wanted to emphasize that even though the government failed us, you know, we Puerto Ricans as a community were the main reason we could actually thrive in this situation. And I use that little scene to demonstrate that, you know, not only the people of power like the pharmacist, but just your local neighbor, like you know, like Junior says, like the uncle behind me. And it was very important for me to not show their faces, one, because I feel they could be you, they could be me, they could be anybody. And most importantly, it is from his point of view. You know, this experience is from a child's point of view, you know. I mean, and the theme of the short film is the loss of innocence, you know. So I wanted to make sure that the audience saw the world through Junior's eyes.
You know, do you want to talk a little bit about your experience with that? Just, you know, both in the film and in the reality of, you know, of your experience of how your community supported each other after the hurricane and how that felt when you were doing it in the film?
Yes. So when we were doing the film, I actually was really nervous, so because I thought I was gonna mess it up, and you know, it was not gonna work. So I actually talked with my mom and my grandparents, and they said, "You can do it." And guess what? I did it.
You did.
I really felt really good when I saw the final product.
Did you feel like when you were in Puerto Rico after the hurricane, did you feel like you had a lot of support from the people around you that helped you kind of get through that time?
Yes.
Yeah. And how did you end up in North Carolina? Do you have family there that you were able to?
My mom came here for the jobs. Like I said, we didn't have no jobs, so
Right.
we came here for work.
You like it there?
Yes.
And as you mentioned, Alejandra, yeah, this is a sad story. This is not a happy story with a happy ending, which is usually what you see in films, for kids. But I feel like this is very much a kid's story, as you said, from his point of view, and thought it was important to share it with audiences of all ages. We've included it kind of in our Viva Los Niños, our family program. Do you agree with that? And what would you like younger viewers to take away from watching the film?
Well, it's interesting because while I was doing it, I have in my wildest dream, I'm like, this is going to be, I never imagined it will be a short film for children, but I think unfortunately now more than ever, it is a reality what's happening in the world. People are making lines, people are dying, you know what I mean? Like this short film, even though it's from a natural disaster, this pandemic has shown kids what the world is. I guess kids right now are growing more ahead of their times. And I just want them to know that, this is a story about a little boy that did what he did helped, that outside circumstances doesn't mean that you failed. You're still bright, you're still smart, you're still beautiful. And in your heart, I know you're going to do the right thing. So just feel proud that you are okay and you're gonna be okay, and I think that's what, because we're all superheroes basically,
Yeah, no, and I think it's really valuable for kids to see kids in other places dealing with those things and still, like you said, sort of retaining their humanity, their dignity, their power, and to support each other, I think is really powerful. And obviously, did a really amazing job of demonstrating that. Just when he straps on that cape. So great. Have you shown the film in Puerto Rico?
Yeah.
Yeah? How was it received there?
What you mean other than tears by the end? Yanniel was present when it premiered in Puerto Rico. Remember, Yanniel? I think you went to Rincon and
Yes.
that was how was that for you? I mean, unfortunately I wasn't here for the premiere, but I know you were there. How did people react to it?
I mean, there was people actually crying at the end. So yeah, it was a little bit funny too when I put the cape. It was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know people were all over you, right? Like, oh my God, you did such a great job, right?
Yes.
Yeah, but Puerto Rico only has like 3 film festivals, and I'm blessed to say that we won Best Short Film in all 3 of them.
Wow, congratulations.
Yeah, so it did very well, and it's still in the festival circuit. Like it's I still can't make it public,
Right.
Like, yeah, as long as it reaches the most amount of people, I'm more than happy to. That's the main reason for this short film, to show the world what really happened.
Was it challenging at all to shoot in Puerto Rico after the hurricane? Obviously, you can see, the devastation that's still there. I'm just wondering what if you were shooting in a remote area, because it looked like it was relatively remote, and what your challenges were with that.
So the hurricane happened in September 2017. I shot the short film in April 2018. And people were unfortunately still living like this. Also, there wasn't power. So I personally had to rent a power generator just for the data loader to, able to charge the batteries of the camera and download the data. And every scene because obviously when you shoot a film, you want to group all the locations together. In this case, I had to go where the destruction still was present. So every scene is a different location.
Wow.
Around the island, so it's a 5-minute short, but it took us 2 days.
Right, just to shoot.
Yanniel, you can talk. Remember when we were shooting like all around Puerto Rico for two straight days? I even paid for the crew like to stay at a hotel, because we were gonna go back to the city to come back.
Right.
But I'm so blessed that people did help. I think I have the best crew in Puerto Rico doing this short. When people read the script, they knew. Because there were, we have to be careful with the media. We and these great filmmakers as well thought this short film did tell the truth of what really happened in Puerto Rico. you know, and they literally gave me a hand, you know. I'm blessed to say I only paid for, you know, their food, their lodging, and the rest it was, you know, it is a sad topic, but we made a family out of it, and we did had a lot of fun. I mean, I know Yanniel had a lot of fun.
Yeah. Was it fun for you? What was the most fun part for you, Yanniel? What would you say?
I think the most fun part I had was probably the river. The river
Yeah, that was my most stressful part, but thank you.
Yes.
That's great. And so are you considering continuing on with acting? Is that something that you want to do?
Yes. If I have the opportunities, I will.
That's great. Well, hopefully more people will see the film and recognize your talent and give you those opportunities. That would be great. And certainly keep an eye out for some casting calls. Alejandra, how long have you been making films? What other types of films have you made?
Well, this is my second short film. I'm blessed to say that, you know, this short film has really changed my career. I now have representation in LA, and that's a dream come true. So I'm ready for the next step. You know, I think with this short film, I got everything I wanted out of it and more. And right now I'm developing a TV show and a movie. You know, I think I'm ready for the next step. So I'm excited. Mm-hmm.
That's great. Have you been able to keep working during quarantine?
Yes.
Great.
I mean, I have to go to LA next week, so it's a blessing for sure. Yeah. I mean, again, as a writer, you almost lived in a quarantine, I realized, you know, just being by yourself every day. So I have finished my scripts during this time, you know, so I can focus on other things. So in that sense, you know, that is, you know, work for me. So
how is Puerto Rico doing now? I mean, you know, having still been recovering from the hurricane and then with the pandemic, how is it feeling there now?
Well, we're doing better, but you know, for example, our electrical grid, it still doesn't work, and you know, we haven't had any hurricanes, thank God, but you know, only a little bit of rain and the power goes out.
Right.
So it's very what's the word? Sensitive,
fragile.
Yeah. But you know, we're okay. We're hanging in there, you know. So we're doing all right.
Yeah. Well, that's why I think it's, you know, the film is sort of a document of where things are, and, you know, knowing that some of that still exists is, I think, really what makes it so valuable. And obviously that last, I presume, drone shot, the is just really remarkable, just to sort of give the scope. And yeah, it's such a beautiful film. Well, I just want to thank you both so much for talking to us. It's been such a pleasure. Such a beautiful film. I'm really excited for our audiences to see it. And thank you both for taking the time. It's been great. It was really great to meet you, Danielle. And I wish you the best in your time in North Carolina and in hopefully your continuing acting career. And yeah, Alejandra, I hope we'll see more films from you as well.
Thank you, Joanne, for your time for the festival. Thank you so much.
You guys.
Take care.